Hello, boys and girls, and those who bounce in between. Comrade Dankey here with part 3 of our look into the horrible hellscape shit world of Amazon. This is an article from The Guardian, more than 2 months old, in fact, called Amazon Faces New Headache as Nashville Deal Enrages Locals Left and Right. An unlikely alliance of free market libertarians and union backed activists argue $100 million plus in subsidies handed to the retailer are a bad investment for the city. So it says Nashville has a way of bringing people together, usually through music. This time is through a shared antipathy for the $100 million plus in subsidies this booming city has just handed to Amazon, the world's most valuable retailer. The ink has barely dried on a deal with the state of Tennessee, and the city awarded Amazon, and there are now only a few small hurdles remaining before Amazon starts moving into downtown office complex planned for Nashville Yards. But an unusual alliance of free market libertarians. Ooh, wow, I didn't know libertarians still existed. Um, just kidding. Of course I do. I see it, libertarian license plates all the fuck over the place here in Tennessee. It's really cringy, but whatever. An union-backed activist is determined to hold the politicians and executives responsible for the deal to account. Their hope is that it will serve as a warning to others looking to hand public money to profitable companies in return for the promise of new jobs. They say this is one area where libertarians and socialists can agree on something. This is a bad idea, said John Mozena, president of the Center of Economic Accountability, a free market advocacy group and a self-described libertarian. Wow. Cool, dude. It's nice to see the libertarians actually like taking the side of the workers for once. I don't really know if he understands why he doesn't like this deal, but um, yeah, nothing about the libertarian ideology really makes sense when tried to be applied to like real world situations. So just kind of ignoring that, let's see what this lady says. Local activist Odessa Kelly agrees. A Parks and Recreations employee and member of the union-backed Stand Up Nashville coalition says the deal is symptomatic of an approach that is failing the city while handing millions to a company that doesn't need it. So this is the construction work going on in Nashville Yards where Amazon's planning on opening up this warehouse. We are being moved around like pawns on a chessboard for the rich, she says. I hate to say it, but we have become a playground for the rich. So yeah, welcome to Nashville, where the new bougie boys go for big developments. But you are all going to be a real sorry bunch of folks over there in Nashville when you realize quickly that none of that wealth is going to come back to you. None of that 150. How much did they give these people? $100 million plus in subsidies. Yeah, you can just wave bye-bye to that. You pissed all that away in the wind. Besides building this little facility, yeah, literally none of that is gonna go back to, being invested in Nashville. This article goes on to say it wasn't supposed to be this way. Last November, Amazon announced that the capital of country music was one of its chosen cities, following a long search to build HQ2, a second base away from its Seattle headquarters states. And states and cities across the U.S. had fought hard, and sometimes in a sometimes bizarre beauty pageant to win the prize. Arizona offered Amazon a giant cactus to seal the deal. What the fuck? So I mean, this was part of the whole like late stage capitalist like every major city just bowing and scraping to big business and begging them to please take everything, take it all. Uh, we will just let you take everything. Some localities are finally coming clean about what they put on the table. Pennsylvania, which had two different cities in the running, was prepared to offer the company $4.6 billion in financial assistance. The vast majority of it through a performance-based grant program by which the Commonwealth would collect income taxes from Amazon employees and give the money to Amazon for 25 years. So a chunk of your paycheck to Amazon would literally have been taken out of your paycheck and given back to Amazon, I guess for the privilege of letting you work for them. So I mean that's just one example. But of course, Nashville offering $100 million plus is just another big example. This happened in major cities all over the United States. In the end, HQ2 was split between Queens and New York and Virginia's Arlington County. Nashville picked up the consolation prize and promise of 5,000 high-paying jobs. For all of the political schmoozing and promise of a prime future, being part of HQ2 has proven problematic. The backlash from residents and politicians in New York was so fierce that Amazon canceled its plans. Probably, and I can talk about this in a separate video if we would like, but I feel I would be remiss to uh, not mention the role of these sort of new progressives emerging in Congress now, namely Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who, together with many other progressive activists and fellow comrades, fought and fought successfully to make sure that Amazon doesn't come to Queens and fuck up the lives of New Yorkers who would want to work in their facilities. Because once again, folks, it might have brought jobs in, but they weren't going to be good jobs. You were going to be worked like cattle and just basically treated like cattle. It says politicians in Virginia too have felt the heat from locals who worry about the impact of gentrification. The fight in Nashville is far from over. Following pressure from Stand Up Nashville and others, Amazon and any other corporation receiving taxpayer funds will have to publish accounts to prove it is living up to its promise to deliver high-paid jobs to locals. Amazon is not the first company to promise big benefits in return for subsidies, but few will be as closely watched in the years ahead. Kelly is worried about the impact of the company on a city that has already been transformed by a rush of investment. Quote, "We are being pushed out of the fringes of the city," she said. "There is no more working class in the city of Nashville. We do middle class work, but we can't afford middle class lives." And see, this is kind of going back to what I said in my last video. Nashville is overwhelmingly dominated by these bougie capitalist elites that want to push everybody else out of the city and bring in just rich money. And it's a really destructive deal. It's really destructive to the majority of people that live in Nashville. It's destructive to the state of Tennessee. It's a giant waste of resources, but they are essentially trying to turn Nashville into their little private country club for them and a bunch of other rich corporations to go hang out at. And if you happen to be too poor to live in the city, well, then, tough shit. It says, after the New York deal imploded, Holly Sullivan, head of Amazon's economic development team worldwide, told the Tennessean residents had nothing to fear. All right, so here's a robot AI-generated message from the Amazon officials. "Community engagement is something that is quite frankly in our DNA," Sullivan said. "You are never going to locate in a community or neighborhood that you are going to have 100% support and oftentimes the most vocal are those against something. But it's also an education opportunity for us to learn what are their priorities. They might actually, once they get to know us, realize we might be aligned in some of those priorities. Well, I'll tell you what your priority is, Miss Robot Lady. It's they want to live decent lives, earning decent wages, working decent jobs. They don't want to be uh, forced to stock items every 7 seconds. They don't want to be forced to have to uh, piss and shit in their delivery vans. They don't want to have to be reprimanded for going on bathroom breaks or talking to workers. They want to be treated like human beings. If they collapse or they pass out or they have a panic attack, they want some medical emergency to be called then, not 25 minutes later. It goes on to say Amazon has promised to create over 5,000 jobs, paying an average of over $150,000 in this city. Given the median U.S. household income is 61,372, it is little wonder politicians were so eager for its business. But for Mozina, those numbers hide a bigger issue. Amazon doesn't need the money, and the city can't afford it. Plenty of other cities offered way more money than Nashville, said Mozina. In fact, Amazon just announced they were adding hundreds of jobs in Austin, Texas, and didn't ask for money because they just wanted the workforce in Austin that much. When Amazon announced the hunt for HQ2, it is said that while incentives played a role, the primary issue was workforce. Nashville, like Austin, has that workforce. That's the way the jobs in the economy are moving, said Mozina. It's not the old model that a city or state lures in a factory and then people move to where the jobs are. These companies are so much more dependent on knowledge, on skilled labor, than they're going to where the people are. That's the mistake cities are still making. They're acting like Amazon is a car factory in the 1950s. The academic research suggests Mozina was right. 2018 study by Timothy Bardick, an economist who specializes in regional economics at the W.E. Upjohn Institute for Employment Research in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Wow, I didn't know that that was a real place. Kalamazoo. Found 75% of companies would have moved to a city or state even without incentives. Politically, however, polling shows that the all-important swing voter is won over by announcements of new jobs, he said, at least for now. Annie Barnett, co-chair of Stand Up Nashville, said she had many discussions with police officers, firefighters, and others recently who, while on the other end of the political spectrum, were dubious about the deal too. There were a growing number of folks who were very critical of these incentives, she said. It's a moral issue. The impact of the deal is already being felt in Nashville, where rents are rising. Barnett said residents are worried about the future of North Nashville, a historically African American neighborhood that has so far escaped the full force of gentrification, which has hit many other areas of the city. This money isn't free, said Mozina. It's money that can be used for roads, police officers, and schools, investments that can significantly improve the quality of life for communities. You're taking money away from the investments that can make your community a good place to live and attractive to companies in the long term. He says that, and that he says is something that the principled left and the principled right can agree on. Well, I don't know if the principled right is a thing that even exists. It might be a video I do in the future because I don't think it does. But yeah, if you're a principled person on the left, you have to resist Amazon because they represent a system that is sort of like cannibalizing communities. These big cities are offering Amazon giant subsidies to come set up shop. And what do? Well, it raises rent prices in the city and leads to gentrification. You're seeing historically black neighborhoods uh, being, you know, torn apart by this. And of course, like this Mozina guy says, money that could be spent for literally anything else would have been probably more useful than just throwing it at Amazon. You literally just pissed away $100 million, just pissed it away. It pissed it into the wind. It's gone, ladies and gentlemen. It's not coming back. I hate to break it to the Nashville taxpayers. I hate to break it to taxpayers in general. It fucking sucks, okay? The dipshits running our state, the dipshits running the city of Nashville, it's they are they are doing real damage in terms of the sheer amount of money they spend in idiotic fashion. So all that said, fuck Amazon. They screwed over Tennessee. They'll screw over any town they want. And the bourgeois fat cats of Nashville just ate it up. They just ate it up, took the bait completely. And yeah, how's that working out for you? Not too good.